This is Flowers of Love, the second part of Flower of Death, and my collaboration with Nerdy Nakoma. I hope you like it. Trigger warning, blood, mention of death, and of course cursing. Loving someone always involves pain. Be it because of a breakup, a fight, or because your feelings are not reciprocated. Shira doesn't know what it means to love someone unconditionally. How did he want to know? His parents have always had high expectations of him. If he did not feel his parents' expectations, he was not comforted but punished with silence. So the young setter never considered following his feelings. If love means yelling at each other and sometimes not speaking to each other for days, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want love like his parents showed him. The only person he lets get close is his best friend since kindergarten. Naoki Hanaka is the only person who knew of Shira's feelings for Semi-Ida and the only one who could understand him. She could never please her parents either. Kenji? Naoki burst into Shirabu's room. Tears were running down her face. She ran into Shira's arms, who was sitting at his desk and was studying. Now? What's wrong? I had an argument with my parents. Because I was half a grade worse than my last exam. I accidentally told my parents I was in a relationship. Now they want me to introduce them to my boyfriend. They'll kill me if I tell them I'm a lesbian. Now calm down. I'm here for you. I can pretend to be your boyfriend for a while. Would you do that for me, Kenji? But what about your parents? They don't want you to date. If it's you, they would accept it. Basically, they're just worried about my grades. You know how much they want me to be a good doctor, but since you want to be a doctor yourself, they'll think we're helping each other to become even better. But then what about this semi-guy from your team? You know I can't give in to these stupid feelings. My parents would never accept it. It's better the way it is now. That's not true. Being loved by someone you love is the best feeling there is. It doesn't matter if I have these feelings, he doesn't feel the same. He hates me. I stole his position in the team. Ow! Naoki slapped the back of Shira's head and glared at him. Stop with the nonsense. He doesn't hate you and you should start accepting your feelings. Naoki's parents often picked up the couple at Shira's school and brought them home so that they could study together. The two always played lovey-dovey when their parents were around. The whole team seemed happy for Shira. Shira just couldn't find out if Semi was happy or sad about it. He congratulated him, but otherwise he seemed to have kept his distance. After a hard workout, Shira and Goshiki go to the toilet together. How is it going with your girlfriend? It's good, even if we mostly only study together. But it helps to study with someone you like. You are such a lucky guy. I wish I had a girlfriend. Shira had a bad conscience about lying to his friends, but he also enjoyed having a reason to get away from his parents. Ever since he told them he was dating Naoki, they let him go out more often because they knew he was studying with Naoki. Dude, your girlfriend is hot. Haha. Thank you, she is amazing. The two stopped abruptly when they saw blood and single flower petals in the sink. Dude, is this blood? Yeah, and flower petals. So someone in our school has the Hanahaki disease? Yeah, looks like it. The poor boy. He should get the operation. If his feelings are not reciprocated. The two left the toilet again. At the sight of the blood and the flowers, he wanted to find Semi right away to make sure he wasn't the one. Although he would never admit it, he was very afraid of the disease. Especially that someone he loves would get this disease. I'm so sorry for that boy. I've heard it's very painful, even with painkillers. Yes, I heard that too. Poor boy, I hope everything turns out well for him. It would be a shame to die of unrequited love. Well, for him it's certainly no shame. He sure thinks it's worth the sacrifice. But for what? That his whole family and friends have to suffer after his death? Just because he didn't want to give up his feelings? Well, do you want to forget Naoki and never be able to have feelings for her again? No, I think you have a point. When the two returned to the gym, they helped clean up. After a while, Tendu and Semi came back to the gym together. He watched as Tendu went to Ushijima and how Semi sadly looked after the two. Does he love Tendu? Why can't he look at me like that? No, stop, Shirabu Kenjiro. Get a hold of yourself. You can't let those feelings get to you. Shira was torn out of his thoughts when Tendu suddenly stood in front of him. Shira baby, come to the cinema with me and Ushi today. I need some company today. I got bad news today and I don't want to be alone. Of course I'm coming with you, Tendu-senpai. What happened? I do not want to talk about it. Let's grab Semi and let's go. Semi is coming too? Tendu didn't answer and went straight to Semi. He positioned himself very close to Semi, a little too close for Shira's liking. Hey Semi-senpai? Hey shorty? Shira blushed slightly from the pet name. It wasn't the name itself that made him blush, but rather the way Semi said it. It didn't sound pejorative, it sounded more like a compliment to Shira. He liked to be smaller than Semi, so he sometimes had an excuse to ask Semi for help, unfortunately not often as he was only 5 centimeters smaller. Shirabu watched Tendu and Semi whisper to each other and got very jealous. He was very thankful to Ushijima when he cleared his throat and got the attention of the two. You wanted to ask Semi something? Alright. Please come to the cinema with Ushi, Shira, and me today. I'm feeling a bit down today and watching a movie with my favorite setters would make me feel better. Shira's hair tickled him and he brushed them out of his eyes. When he looked up, he saw Semi blushing. Shira looked deep into Semi's eyes and became slightly red. At first he thought Semi would be red because of him, but the other setter looked back at Tendu. Of course I'm happy to come with you. What do we want to what? Baby? Naoki ran into the gym. Shira could see Naoki's parents in the entrance, so he had no choice but to go to her and take her in his arms. Naoki threw herself into Shira's arms. Shira whispered in Naoki's ear, "You have incredibly bad timing. I was about to go to the cinema with friends and Semi. That would be my chance to get a little closer to him. I'm sorry, but I have a date with my girlfriend and I needed an excuse to get rid of my parents." Shira turned to Naoki's parents. He waved to them. The two walked over to the two who were waiting outside the gym. They explained that they will study in the library because they needed to do some research for which they did not have the books. Naoki's parents said goodbye. When Naoki's parents left, Shira went back to the gym, but everyone was already gone. He grabbed his bag and water bottle and went to the locker room. To his surprise, Semi wasn't in the locker room yet. Tendu and Ushijima hadn't come back either. He showered and changed. Since he saw that Semi's bag was still in the locker room, he decided to wait. Shortly thereafter, Ushijima came into the locker room, followed by Tendu, who was holding Semi in his arms. Shira's hands were shaking with anger. He hated seeing Tendu so close to Semi, and he hated that he had no right to say anything. Fuck, why is Semi so hot? Shira stared at Semi's shirtless body and blushed. Semi stared back until the moment when Tendu nudged Semi lightly on the shoulder. Semi quickly looked away and blushed. Shouldn't you be with your girlfriend? Is he jealous? No, that can't be it. He likes Tendu? No, she just brought me something that I left with her yesterday. I have already promised Tendu-san that I will come to the cinema with you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you. Did you just apologize to me? That's a first. Yeah, I guess I did. Semi got dressed while Shirabu tried not to stare at him. When everyone was done, everyone went outside and made their way to the cinema. Shira wanted to go next to Semi but he couldn't find a way. So he ended up alongside Ushijima. He wasn't concentrating on the conversation with Ushijima. To be honest, he wasn't exactly sure what they were talking about. The longer he heard Semi laughing next to Tendo, the more impatient he became. When he turned around, he noticed that the other two stopped and saw the smile on Semi's face. He lost his temper. "Are you done flirting? Are you finally coming?" Shira grabbed Semi's arm and pulled him with him. He was angry that he couldn't think straight anymore and didn't think about his words. You should respect others' relationship and not flirt with someone else's partner. What are you talking about? About throwing yourself at someone who is in a relationship and keep blushing when you look at him. You have no idea what you're talking about. I respect when someone is in a relationship, and I can't control it when I blush. Fuck. Why did I say that? I'm sorry Tendo, but I can't come to the cinema with you. It occurred to me that I still have to do something. Before Shira could say anything else, Semi ran away. Shira regretted his words the moment he said them. He knew it was none of his business. After all, it wasn't his relationship. It would be up to Ushijima to say something, not him. But he couldn't help it. His jealousy was driving him insane. Semi, wait. I am sorry. What the hell was that? Why do you keep treating him like this? What did he do to you to deserve such treatment? 10 We should go home now? The two walked away, leaving the setter behind. Tears ran down Shira's face. He slowly went home. When he got home, he knew right away that his parents were at home. He took a deep breath and opened the door. His mother came up to him quickly and he saw how angry she was. "Shirabu Kenjiro, where have you been and why aren't you studying?" "Not now, Mom." "Kenjiro, answer your mother's question." Shirabu ignored his parents and made his way to his room. "Shirabu Kenjiro, stop right there and answer your mother's question." "I said not now. Leave me alone." Shirabu went into his room and slammed the door. He threw himself on the bed and buried himself under the covers. He buried his face in his pillow and cried into it. He heard his door open and someone walk in. He felt the mattress shift as someone sat down next to him. "Kenjiro, what's wrong? Did something happen? Did you fight with Naoki? Go away. I know we're strict with you and I know we expect a lot from you, but we're still your parents and if something's bothering you, you can count on us. Even if I tell you I'm gay and I'm in love with someone who hates me, or if I say I'm dating a girl just so I don't have to face my true feelings. You are not fucking gay. Honey, stop. Get out of my house. I knew it. I wish I have different parents. I hate you. Get out now." Shirabu's father left the room and slammed the door behind him. "Even if I can't understand why you like men, you're still my child. I will support you and I will not let your father throw you out of the house. If you keep up your good grades, he'll come down sooner or later." Shira was grateful that his mother could prevent his father from throwing him out of the house. Shirabu wanted to apologize to Semi the next day and Semi accepted the apology. But the tension between the two remained. Shira knew he had to do something so that the two could come closer again. Shira tried to be nicer. He didn't make the snarky remarks he usually made. At first he could see how surprised Semi was. However, Semi quickly got used to it and the two developed a good friendship. Shira kept fighting his jealousy. He didn't want to hurt Tendo and Semi again. However, after he got into a fight with his father again and his mother didn't defend him, he couldn't hold back. "Semi-san, do you want to go on a Guess Who? Tendo leaned on to Semi and covers his eyes with his hands and interrupted Shira, who wanted to ask Semi something important. Ha ha ha. Tendo, like I don't recognize you. Of course you always recognize him? I wish I was the one you love. It's nice to see you both talk and not argue. Of course, Tendo had to bring out that they used to fight. If Tendo could not cling to Semi all the time, Semi could forget his feelings for him and he could fall in love with Shira. Shira was very annoyed that Tendo prevented him from asking Semi on a date. That's why he didn't have his feelings under control and bitched at Tendo. We've been talking a lot lately. Without arguing. And shouldn't you be sticking to Ushijima-san? Shira immediately noticed that his words came out too harshly. He wanted to apologize right away when he noticed Semi glaring at him. Shira, that was rude. And interrupting our conversation, wasn't? I'm sorry Shirabu, I just wanted to ask you guys if you want to come to the cinema with Ushijima and me? But forget it. I'm asking someone else. Shira had a guilty conscience when he saw Tendo go away, dejected. That wasn't necessary. Shira, he is our friend and if he wants to go to the cinema with us he can ask us that. Shira couldn't finish his sentence when Semi already ran to Tendo. Shira's heart broke a bit when he saw Semi take Tendo in his arms. I have to apologize. It's not Tendo's fault that Semi is in love with him. Shira went to the two. He clenched his fists when he saw Semi holding Tendo's cheeks. Tendo-san, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you. I only had an argument with my parents and that's why I'm a bit tense. But I would really like to go to the cinema with you. If you can forgive me for yelling at you. Please don't hate me. I lost enough already. Don't worry, it's fine. What do you want to go watch? Can we watch horror? It is my favorite genre. Please, not horror. I will be scared to death. Whatever you want. If that's okay for you, Tendo-san. Of course I love horror. Ushi, come, let's go to the cinema. Shira relaxed as Ushijima came to Tendo's side and put an arm around him. However, he was immediately jealous again when Semi wanted to be alone with Tendo. While walking away, Shira turned and saw how Tendo jumped into Semi's arms. They were already too far away to understand what Tendo was so happy about, but Shira didn't like that the two looked so happy. Ushijima-san, are you not jealous when they are like that? No? Why should I? I trust Tendo and they are best friends. Tears ran down Shira's cheeks. Ushijima was too oblivious to notice the tears that Shira desperately wiped away. When Shira saw how Semi pulled Tendo into a hug, he turned around and made his way to the cinema. Perhaps if Shira paid enough attention and treated Semi lovingly, he would get Semi to reciprocate his feelings. That's why Shira decided to stay by Semi's side and always be nice to him. Shira, despite being scared to death because of the film, he enjoyed the time together with Semi. He loved that Semi helped his hand during the film. Even though he didn't startle at every jump scare towards the end of the film, he pretended to get really scared to throw himself into Semi's arms and hide his head on Semi's chest. Semi and Shirabu went home together. Shira clung to Semi with trembling hands. You don't have to be afraid. I will protect you. Thanks, Semi-san. I just don't like horror movies. Then why did you agree to watch it with us? I felt bad for yelling at Tendo. And you seem so excited to watch it. I didn't want to take the fun away from you. Next time we're going to watch something you would enjoy. Do you love someone, Semi-san? Shirabu clenched his hands and hung his head low. He didn't know why he was asking this question. He already knew the answer and didn't want to know. But now that he had asked the question, he couldn't take it back. Why, yes. But the person is in a relationship and probably doesn't return my feelings. but I still want to confess my feelings to him, so he can decide for himself what he wants to do with the information. You shouldn't do it. You don't have the right to say that. That's just me being selfish. I don't want him to confess. I will lose him if tend to reciprocate his feelings. Semi stopped and looked at Shira in shock. Shira also stopped and turned to Semi. Why? Because I love you. Because I'm selfish and I don't want you to be with someone else. It's not fair to the other person. When you confess your feelings to him, you give him a choice. Either he ends his relationship to keep you as a friend or he will have to say goodbye to an important friend. Either way, he's going to lose someone he cares about. Shira clenched his hands in fists and bit his lower lip. Why couldn't he get the words he wanted to say over his lips? I guess you're right. I have to go, my parents must be worried. The pain in Semi's voice broke Shira's heart. He didn't want to hurt Semi, he just wanted him to stop loving Tendu. And finally realized that someone loved him. He wanted Semi to notice him. Can you take me home? I'm a little scared walking home alone in the dark. Shira tried to get close to Semi again, but every time Shira tried to grab his hand or arm, Semi pulled away. When Semi said goodbye to him in front of Shira's house, Shira turned and let his tears fall. Shira was glad that evening that his parents weren't at home. He lay down and cried his eyes out. Shira wanted to talk to Semi the next day but he couldn't find him. During the training, Semi didn't show up either. Towards the end of practice he could see Semi sitting in the stands. He wanted to talk to him right after practice but when he got to the stands Semi was already gone. Days passed with Shira looking for Semi and never being able to find him, or when he found him, Semi ran away. Days passed in which Shira felt empty and cried himself to sleep every night. 2 weeks went by without him arguing with his parents because whenever he was yelled at he would turn around and crawl into his room. 2 weeks in which Shira didn't smile once. His friends were worried and they tried to help him but no one could talk to him. Have you heard? Semi-san from the volleyball club gets extra treatment from the teachers. In the last 2 weeks he is regularly late for class and is sometimes allowed to leave earlier. He is also said to have been seen how he came out of the teacher room and looked as if he had changed. I heard that he often has blood stains on his clothes. I heard he can't go to training anymore because he's involved in gang activities. Stupid rumors? Shira stopped abruptly. As he thought about it more closely, Shirabu noticed some strange things about Semi. Semi kept coughing. He found blood and flower petals in the bathroom at the time the coughing started. Desperate attempt to be near Tendu. That he stopped attending the volleyball practice. That he looks weaker than usual. Shira rushed towards Semi's classroom. He immediately wanted to know if his assumption was correct. Please be wrong. Please be wrong. Someone slammed into him and Shira fell to the ground. Asshole Stow. Ida, stop. Shira ran after Semi. He stormed into the toilet. He immediately burst into tears. The one he loved was leaning over a sink in pain as he coughed up blood and flowers. Ida? Shira didn't think about his action. He only saw in what great pain the person he loved the most was. The younger setter ran to Semi's side and pulled him into a tight hug. Why, you have Hanahaki disease? Yes? Pathetic, right? Shira tightened his arms around the older setter. How can Semi say such a terrible thing? It's not pathetic to have Hanahaki. It can happen to anyone. You have to remove the flowers before it is too late. I don't want to lose you, not because of him. No, even if I could still do it, I wouldn't do it. The feelings are too important to me. Does that mean it's already too late? Do you love him that much that you would die for him? Semi started coughing again. Blood ran out of his mouth. Shira tried to hold him up but he couldn't hold him. Doctors say it will only last a few days. I know my feelings won't be returned, but if I can watch him for just a few more days I'll die happy knowing he's happy. Shirabu also fell to the ground trying to hold Semi. While Shirabu desperately held Semi tight, Tenda ran into the toilet. Please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. Tenda, don't cry. Everything will be fine. How can you say that? You're going to die? How can everything be fine if you're dead? How can everything be all right when I'm going to lose you because of him? Certainly, your family will not be fine. Your friends will not be fine, and I will not be fine, too. He's right. We all are going to miss you. Semi sat up and hugged his best friend. He buried his face in his shoulder. Shira looked at those two and he got so angry at Tendu. How can he not love Semi? Ida? How can you let someone like Semi die? Ida? Wake up please. Shira needed a moment until he understood what was happening. When he realized what had happened he was still in shock until he heard his own words. Did he just die? Ida? No, you can't leave me. Not before I could confess to you. Ida, don't go, I love you. Please, I can't live without you. Ida, wake up please. Shira screamed desperately, hoping that Semi would wake up and hug him. While Tendu's words were barely louder than a whisper. But nothing happened. Semi didn't wake up. The nurse ran into the toilet. Students who stood outside and who saw everything ran off to fetch a nurse. Lay him down. I need to examine him. Tendu did as he was told. The nurse checked Semi's breathing and pulse. The nurse sent the students off to get a stretcher, so they could bring Semi into the infirmary. Is he dead? Shirabu's voice was barely above a whisper, but the nurse sitting right next to Shira could hear what he was saying. No, do not worry. He did probably just fainted because of the pain. We will bring him to the infirmary and I give him something against the pain. After his condition gets better I will bring him back home. Shouldn't you take him to a hospital? No. It was Semi's wish not to be taken to a hospital. We can discuss everything when we get to the infirmary. A few students helped the nurse to put Semi on the stretcher while others helped Semi and Tendu get up. When they noticed that the two were not stable on their feet, they helped them to get to the infirmary. When they arrived at the infirmary, the nurse took care of Semi first and then sat down with Shira. You are Shirabu Kenjiro, right? Yes, why? As you have already seen, Semi suffers from Hanahaki disease. His condition has deteriorated a lot in the last few weeks and he is refusing to have the operation. I'm so sorry he won't be able to come to school anymore. He might have 2 to 3 days left to live. Can I stay here until he wakes up? Of course, but don't you have any questions? Like what exactly is Hanahaki? No, I know exactly what Hanahaki is and how to treat it. I just want to be by his side until he wakes up. I will leave you alone, call me if something is wrong. The nurse left the room and Shira sat down next to Semi. He took his phone out and wrote to his best friend that she came to him as quickly as she could. Tendu sat next to Shira and put his hand on Semi's leg. Why him? I don't know. I guess life is not fair. It's not fair. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose him either. He's been my best friend for as long as I can remember. He was the first to accept me for who I am. He was the first to whom I wasn't a monster. At least you still have Ushijima by your side. If he dies I have no one left. He's the only one who ever managed to get into my heart. Semi, you have to wake up. I still have to tell you that I love you. Wait, what? Didn't you reject him? What, no? Why would you think that? Semi told me you did. The two looked at each other confused. Tendo turned more to Shira and took the young setter's hands into his hands. Shira, please answer me honestly. Do you love Semi? Yes, but that doesn't matter. I can't help him. Of course, you can help him. You're the only one who can help him. Why? He is in love with someone else? What are you talking about? He's in love with you. Wait, what? Isn't he in love with you, Kenji? Shira jumped up when he heard Semi's voice. He looked at the frail-looking boy below him. Shira threw himself gently on the boy without hurting Semi and took him in his arms. Ida. You are awake. You scared me a lot. Why did you stop talking to me? I wanted to apologize for what I said to you 2 weeks ago. It's none of my business if you confess your feelings. I'm so sorry, I didn't want to get involved in your matters. It's okay, I'm just glad you're with me now. Can you stay a little on? Kenjiro? Naoki walked into the room and took a quick look around. Shira got up and turned around. Naoki immediately threw herself into his arms. As Semi watched the two, he began to cough. When Shira heard Semi cough, he immediately pushed Naoki away and turned back to Semi. He immediately hugged the boy. After a few seconds he released the embrace and took Semi's face in his hands. He looked deep into his eyes while the tears ran down his face. Don't die. I will not die. Liar. I know you have Hanahaki. Please, you can't leave me. I love you. Please get those flowers of death removed and start loving me. You love me? What? Shira paused for a moment and ordered him to take his hands away from Semi's cheeks. He took a step back and looked shocked. Only when Semi asked him the question did he realize what he was saying. Shira blushed. Shira stuttered incomplete and soft words to himself. Kenji? Semi looked at Naoki, who was holding Shira's arm. Shira looked down at her. Naoki made herself taller so she could whisper in Shira's ear. You should tell him the truth about your feelings before it's too late. Even if he loves the other, he should at least know that you. She was interrupted when Semi started coughing again. Shira quickly turned back to Semi. When he saw how Semi bent forwards and spat out blood, Shira broke inside. He hated to see Semi suffering. Shirabu wanted to say something. He wanted to help Semi, but all the words got stuck in his throat. He couldn't move. Fucking confess already. Kenji. Ida, I am madly in love with you. I know you probably don't reciprocate my feelings, but I want you to know that I'm in love with you. I know I don't have the right to ask you that, but please remove the flowers and start loving me. I promise I can make you happy. Please. I'm in love with you, too. With who else should I be in love with? I thought you were in love with Tendo? Tendo and Semi looked at each other and started to laugh. Why would you think something like that? That's ridiculous. You know, I'm in love with Ushi. We are best friends since we were children. He's nothing more than a friend. I'm not in love with him. I am in love with you. Yo, you're in love with me? Of course. How could I not be in love with you? Then it's all my fault? I could have prevented you from being in so much pain. It's not your fault, Kenji. I decided to keep the flowers and I misunderstood our conversation 2 weeks ago. I thought you were talking about my feelings towards you. I should have made it clear that I was talking about you. I just thought, how could someone as perfect as you love me? I knew you were in a relation. Semi was interrupted as soft and warm lips landed on his. It took Semi a second to process what was happening. When he realized it, he kissed Shira back. He grabbed the back of Shira's head with his hand and played gently with his hair. Shira leaned more over the bed to be able to kiss Semi better. Suddenly, Semi pushed Shirabu away and started to cough slightly. Shira was worried right away and looked worried at Semi. He remembered something he had read in one of his medical books. Shira climbed onto the bed and took Semi in his arms. He put a hand on his gray hair. He gently stroked the hair, while he grabbed Semi's hand with his other hand. He interlocks their fingers together. He placed soft kisses on Semi's cheeks and neck. The other two who were still in the room stood there awkwardly. Tendu smiled and was very happy that he won't lose his best friend after all. Ahem, we are still here. Semi seemed to have just remembered that Shira was already in a relationship. He tried to slide away from Shira only to be pulled right back. Stay in my arms, please. But your girlfriend? We aren't actually dating. It's just a cover so that my parents don't find out that I'm a lesbian. Huh? So I was jealous over nothing. Seems so. I'm glad you two finally managed to get together. Shirabu Kenjiro, do you want to be my boyfriend? Of course. I will come to your house for a few days. I don't want to leave you alone. What about your parents? They will get mad. I know, but Semi is more important. I just send them a text that I will not come home for a while. My dad will be glad about it and my mom need a break from the tension in the house. Is it that bad with your parents? Yes it is. But I want to focus on Semi until he fully recover from Hanahaki. We can talk about everything later. I haven't properly introduced you two yet. She's my best friend since middle school and she is straight like a U-turn. We are studying together to become a doctor. Naoki, this is Sami Ida, who I've told you so much about. The four talked for a while until Ushijima came to pick up Tendu and Naoki used this as an opportunity to leave the newly formed couple alone. When Semi felt a lot better, the nurse drove them to Semi's home. Before they went in, Semi took Shira's hand and the two went in together. The two went together into the living room where Semi's parents nervously paced up and down. When they saw Semi, they quickly approached the two boys and pulled Semi into their arms. They broke the hug, and they looked at Semi, not noticing Shirabu, who was standing behind Semi. Ida, where were you? We were worried sick. The school ended 2 hours ago. Mom, Dad, don't freak out. I was at the infirmary. I lost consciousness and I had to stay until my condition got better. Semi's mother pulled Semi in her arms and started to cry. Shirabu could see that Semi's father was trying to stay strong. But Mr. Semi had tears in his eyes too. You don't have to cry. Everything will be alright. Our kid is going to die. Nothing will be alright. Mrs. Semi released the embrace and glared at Shira. Semi pulled his boyfriend to himself and put his arm around his waist. Mom and Dad, he is right. Everything will be alright. This is Shirabu Kenjiro, my boyfriend, and the reason why I had Hanahaki. But he's also my savior who healed me from Hanahaki. Does that mean you're not sick anymore? Not exactly. Can we sit down? Then I can explain everything to you. Of course. Sit down. Basically, his healing is just beginning. The flowers don't just go away. The damage the flowers did to his heart doesn't just go away. The flowers should disappear in the near future. The damage to Semi-san's heart and lungs as well as the throat should heal with the disappearance of the flowers. But I can't tell you exactly when that will be. I'm not a specialist. How do you know this so well? You also knew what you had to do in the infirmary to make me feel better? When I found out that someone at our school had Hanahaki, I delved into the subject. I just followed my instincts in the infirmary. I have read that in healing Hanahaki it is important that the patient feels loved by the person of desire. Does that mean he will recover fully? Yes, he should. But I think it would be best if he still went to a doctor and get a checkup. Semi's parents embraced Shirabu. Thank you for loving our son. I don't know what I would have done if I'd lost him. I don't know what I would have done either. Shirabu and Semi's parents quickly became close. He was welcomed into Semi's family with open arms. They became like his second family. Semi also got to know Shira's parents. However, this didn't go so well. In the end, Shirabu packed his things and moved to Semi. Shira kept in touch with his mother, but he didn't speak to his father for years. Shira was still pursuing his dream of becoming a doctor. He still studied a lot, but he also allowed himself to enjoy life. Semi and Shira built a strong relationship together. They supported each other in everything they did. Semi helped Shirabu become a doctor by helping him study. He mostly helped remind him to eat and sleep. Semi was also there when Shira met his father after 5 years of no contact. Shira supported Semi in pursuing his dream of having his own band. Shira was at Semi's first concert. He was by Semi's side when his boyfriend became famous. At first he had trouble not getting jealous when Semi's fans clung to him. Over time he learned that he had no reason to be jealous. Semi and Shira married shortly after Shira graduated from high school. Shirabu became a successful doctor. Hello, my name is Dr. Semi. What brings you to us? I've had this bad cough for a few days and today I coughed this up. The young woman held out some petals of a cherry blossom to him. Oh, poor you have Hanahaki. The best thing you can do is tell the one you love that you love them. I can't. In the end it's your decision, but all I can tell you is that my husband almost died from it. We were both convinced at the time that our love was unrequited. For me, these flowers are always flowers of death, because they can take a person you love. But they are also flowers of love because they can create a relationship that is stronger than a normal one. This is the end of my two-shot. This story was so much fun to write. I hope you liked it too. Working with Nerdy Nakoma was so much fun. They are a great person. So please go check her out. And I am so grateful to everyone who subscribed to me, liked my stories and left a comment. I have an Instagram account where I will make updates and where I will upload smut scenes. Omis_it's99. Join my Discord server. I'm occasionally in the voice channel. If I am in the voice channel I will announce it on Insta. Link is in the description. I apologize for the grammatical errors. Write me a comment how you liked the story. Don't forget to follow. If someone wants a video, please let me know it. I will try to write your ideas as best as possible.